my child is not developing at a certain, like any other child or something. And that can put a fear in your mind. But let's just commit every single little aspect to God. He also says we cast our cares on him. And even as we begin the year, let's purposely walk the journey of being parents with God. He put these children in our lives. He chose us to be the parents of these particular children. So he's able to give us the grace it takes to walk this journey. So allow me to just pray for us, and then I will hand it over back to Paps, and we will take it from there. All right. Our Father, in Jesus' name, we are grateful, Lord, to have another opportunity to gather again. Thank you, Lord, that your grace has kept us, and we are grateful for another season, another year, another month. January is almost coming to an end. We have seen you, and we know that you're the one who has kept us. Your word says that it is because of your mercy and your compassions that we are not consumed. It is your grace, it is your goodness, Lord, that has kept us. And so we gather together tonight with grateful hearts. But even as we do so, Lord, we want to commit every care, every concern, every worry, every fear, Lord, that we may have concerning our children, concerning their future, concerning their tomorrow, concerning their well-being, concerning their development, concerning their friendships, concerning their schools, every possible concern or fears that we may have tonight. We agree with your word that you've not given us a spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. And so, Lord, we say that we are parents that are powerful, we are parents that are loving, we are parents that have a sound mind, and we are able to make decisions, Lord, as stewards of the children that you've given us. Thank you for the plans we have ahead of us. For these bold parenting webinars, we commit every one of those sessions to you, including tonight. We are asking for counsel and understanding, and we are asking for your leading. Thank you so much, even for Paps and James, oh God. Thank you for their lives and for their hearts in this journey, Lord. And we just honor you in every way, oh Father. We give you praise as we start, and we believe you, Lord, for a wonderful session. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, and welcome, parents. I'd already said another welcome and another one. Yeah, so just inviting Jane, Kimori, John Wesh. Yeah, John, so good to see your dad here. And then Micheline. I hope Micheline, I've said your name well. Micheline or Micheline. Yeah, you'll tell us. Micheline was here early. She was here like, I think almost 10 minutes before. And Nancy Omari, Rosemary, Victoria, so good to see you. Yeah, thanks for being committed parents who are also desiring probably more wisdom to parents. And we're going to start with our intros. So nice to meet you virtually. So you can just mention your name and then you introduce your family. And then this is the question we'll answer for tonight. What is different parenting in this generation compared to when you were a child? Where do you see probably differences, or you just feel like there's such a shift? Yes, I think we will start with Micheline or Micheline. Yeah, she was here first, just like honoring that first one as well. And then we will go on and on. So Carol will go last. So after, I'll read how you appear on my screen. Micheline will go first, and then we'll have Halima, and then Jane, and then John Wesh, and then Nancy, Rosemary, and then Victoria. So we'll just do a quick intro, your name, and introduce your family, probably how many kids, how old are they? It's just good to know. And of course, we'll want to honor your journey even as we are here. And then what is different parenting in this generation compared to when you were a child? Micheline, are you ready to go? Micheline Dongo, you're still muted. I hope you can hear me. All right, probably we can have Halima. Halima, you can go first.
Yes, my name is Halima Ruth Mgeni, and I'm married and a parent of 2 boys, 8 years and 5 years. What's different from how I see parenting is different from the way we were brought up. I think it's mostly because of technology and also the kids nowadays very, very outspoken, very bold, as opposed to during our time. Like there are things that my sons would all like, what? I and it makes a lot of sense. But if I had told my mom or my dad, I had answered him or her in that manner, that would have been, yeah, it sounds like disrespectful. But when you come to think about it, it actually makes sense right now. And then now, right now, you can actually have a conversation, like you negotiate with the children, like this is it, and we discuss. And as of our
Yeah.
time, my mother's word was final. Like we are not negotiating about anything. We are not. Yeah. Yes, I think it's quite different. And yes, and I think mostly me growing up, I tend to think right now, and I think I look back, I think it was just we would do things out of fear, not more so not because of, like, you're afraid to be punished, you're afraid to, just out of that fear. Personally, I think that from when I look back, I did a lot of things because of fear, not because they really made sense to me. But as opposed to now, like you're bringing up very bold children who can speak up for themselves. Like, no, I don't think this is right. This is fair. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Hali. I just love that part of, by then negotiating, because growing up it was their way or the highway. And nowadays being able to reason out with your child, and sometimes you lose fights, it's quite different. All right. And then we have Jen Kimori. Thanks, Hali. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
First of all, it's very nice, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I am a mother of two, 12 and 9-year-old, turning 10 in March.
Wow.
And I also took in my nephew, who is 11.
Wow.
So
Wow.
turning, yes, he's 11, so turning also 12 this year. So I am in the neck of the woods of this preteen world. And it is not funny. It is not funny at all. What I can say that is different from how we were brought up and how we are bringing these ones up. These ones are more aware of everything. They're more aware of who they are. They're more aware of where they are. They're more aware of what they want. So unlike us, I want to believe when I was 12, there are things I really didn't care. I really didn't know that I was supposed to. That it was my business for me to know and learn. I was just a child, and I was told you're a child, and that's it. Yours is just to wake up, find food on the table, eat, go to school, come back, no more, no less. But these ones, of course, we can blame social media and technology. These ones know what is happening. So I think the mode, or rather the angle I've taken, is to make them my friends before I am their mother. I'm trying. I won't say that I am there. I'm really trying, because there are moments you forget and you're just shouting and screaming. Then you realize, no, this is not how it's done. You go back and then you ask for forgiveness and you explain why you did what you did. But I always want to be the first one to disseminate information to them. If they find out, I'm trying to break that barrier where they hide things away from me. Let them come to me and seek clarification. If I don't know, sometimes they're very funny, or rather sensitive topics. If I'm not ready, I invented a discovery, sort of. I tell them it's not the right time. I'm thinking, because probably I'm caught unawares and I don't know how to approach it. So I tell them I'm going through something. Just give me time. I've heard what you said, then I will come back. So I think that is that is a different thing that we are trying to do with them. Unlike what we went through when we were kids.
Wow. I'm just really appreciating you, Jen, for just being a very intentional parent. I just really admire the way you connect with your children, just being intentional. And there's someone who said one of the ways we heal our traumas of how we were parented is actually being able to even apologize. It doesn't mean you want to blow up like your mother. But the only thing that is different between you and your mother is that you're able to own up your mistakes. You're able to own up when we hurt our children,
True.
And so those are some of the things. And that is how we heal ourselves. Because, reparenting yourself is being able to do better than how it was done to you. Yeah, so really commending you for that. Yeah, that kind of gentle parenting, that kind of vulnerable parenting of I've blown up and I'm here and I'm willing to make things right. So, and even taking in your nephew. I really commend you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jane. John Wesh, Super Dad, we're so glad to have you here. Yeah, are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Thank you very much. Today I'm joined by my wife, Victoria. So, yes, married for 15 years, with two boys, 13 and 11. And what's different? Our parents used to spend 3/4 of their time making faces to communicate. So at least for us now, we have it's not about making faces, it's about understanding our children and talking to them and with them and having discussions. Secondly, information. They have the kind of information they have access to when you're 14, they have access to when they're 5 years. So that has been a dynamic of all these parents.
Thank you, John Wesh. I'm really celebrating. I remember someone asking in the group, why don't we have more dads here? And I was like, please bring dads. Everybody should have a responsibility of bringing dads. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, we really commend you and your wife for also taking this journey together. You know, sometimes probably moms are the ones who show up more because they are more concerned or maybe they seek information more. So whenever we see a dad here, we really celebrate. Of course, James will be joining later. He's putting the kids to bed and helping out with 1, 2, 3. But he's on his way, and then we will keep on seeing more dads as we go along. I believe last year we also had inconsistency challenges, which may have thrown us off track. And I'm so glad to be doing this with Carol this year. Nancy, good to see you here.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy Omari, a single mother of 2 daughters, 13 years old and a 5-year-old. And having that wide different gap between them, it's always a balance that I try to try and balance because they are quite wide apart. The difference that I see is that I find their personalities different. So my firstborn is an introvert and she's is articulate how she does her things. My young one is too vocal. Both of them, they're so self-aware of being young ladies and how they see the world compared to how I was then when I was being brought up.
Yeah.
And being a single mom, they ask too many questions. So and they form boundaries that I would think, though I came up from a family that had a father and a mother, and even if it was a single mom, I don't think I would be so alert in my mind thinking as they are. So you find it's very hard to convince them about something. So and they watch a lot and they Google a lot, and I can give an example. My younger one today, she wanted to know about insects and she was Googling and she was on YouTube, she was checking and confirming it. So I find the generation of this time, they are far ahead. They're critical thinkers. And even when you ask them a question and they're like, why are you rude? Why are you not answering? Then they would say, it's not that I don't want to answer you. I am thinking. And these are 5-year-olds telling you, I am thinking of the answer. So this is a generation that is quite interesting. Yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, they really commend you for being a bold parent, you know, even those times. And one of the things I also love is just hearing parents who are self-aware. You know, you can also see that self-awareness in your children and you appreciate it in terms of the curiosity, in terms of their personality. And those are some of the things we shall be covering later in the year in terms of just journeying with your children in those dynamics. Yeah, and commending you, Nancy. I know also being a single parent is not easy, you know, and we really celebrate you, you know, for just being this parent who is keeping the hope on. And here you are. Yeah, we really, really commend you for that. And of course, because I also know the side story, really appreciating you and the girls.
Thank you.
All right, Nancy, Rosemary, Sylvie Karibu, and Victoria, we are doing our intros, and then we will go into the lesson for today shortly. Rosemary, go ahead.
Wow, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rosemary Manyara. I'm mother of 3. A teenager now. My son is turning 18, 1st of February. A 12-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. And that gap can tell you a lot. In this journey of parenting, it has taught me so many things because I do not dictate what has to be done with us. I mean, when I was growing up, you were told you have to do this. No questions, ask anything, you do it. You up when being spanked, and not just being spanked, caned. You do a small mistake and caning just flowing to you. And here, when you have to cane, when my second born was younger, he would tell you, Mom, can we discuss? Can I tell you why this happened? And you're trying to cane him. Can I discuss and tell you why exactly this happened?
I can explain.
Yes, and then when you tell him, you're giving him 3 strokes for the mistakes they did, they tell you, why can't you give me 2? Why must I get 3? So in this generation, the parenting is very different. You really have to be on top of things. You sit down and discuss with your kids. Technology has taken a toll of so many parents, including myself. When we were growing up, there was nothing like gadgets. There was no even TV. But this is the era where everything is there. The TV is there. They're having to know so many things. The other day, my daughter, who is now 8, she came home and told me, Mom, can I tell you what my friend did? You know, she knows what the friend did, which wasn't good. So she's asking you, they have to sit down with you and ask you so many questions. And even before the question, they ask you a question that they want you to confirm if it's right or not. So we are parenting kids who are so much ahead. So if you don't give them information in hand, you find they fall into the wrong hands. So the parenting of 21st century is totally different because kids know as early as 6 years, they know who they are, they know what they want, they know what they want to achieve. Their kids like set goals and tell you, today I'm doing 1, 2, 3. So you try and discuss something different and they tell you, no, Mom, I'm not going to be able to achieve this. So when you push and you push and you push, they can only stretch too much. So like when you're growing up, I mean, you have to do it the way it has to be done. There was either you do it, either you go to school or not. There was nothing as don't go to school. It's either you go to school, even if you're sick, you try and go to school and pretend yes, everything is okay. I like
wow. Yeah, thank you, Rosemary. And you're really doing a good job just knowing your kiddos and especially how respectful they are and also the initiative they have. And so really commending you as well. Just that bold parenting, because that is what we'll be celebrating every time we meet here. Like bold parenting. I'm just parenting boldly. Sometimes it's hard, but the boldness is what I'm keeping in front of the ball in front of me is always boldness through all seasons. Yeah, thanks for being here, Rosemary. Victoria, your turn. Johannes Karibu, good to see you. Johannes Kibaru, or is it Johannes? When you come up, please give us the right spelling of your name, the right pronunciation. Victoria, are you ready? Do you want to go? If you don't want to go, by then, no pressure.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Karibu.
I'm just speaking to say hi. John had already spoken on my behalf.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, John Wesh has introduced your crowd.
Yes. Yes,
Maybe you
yes,
can answer the
yes.
second question. What is different parenting in this generation compared to when you were a child?
Okay, only a bit similar to what you said, but what I've noticed is as parents, if we do not take an initiative to pass information to our children, they get it from outside. It could be good or bad. Like for me in my kids' school, they are always being taught so many things. You'll find they've been told to carry stuff to be taught by teachers in school, to brush shoes, to brush teeth, to brush, they are taught about sexuality, masturbation, and so as a parent, if you're not at the forefront of looking for information to pass to your children, you might realize that the kids get negative information. So you should be there. If where you can, try and be among the first people to pass information to your child. Okay, other people also play the role of passing the information, which is good, but also probably the society also realizes that kids are getting information and they're likely to get it negative, so they try to pass the right information to them. But they have so much information in their hands. How they use that information is now how we now need as parents to figure out how to turn it to the right direction. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Victoria. That is very profound, by the way. Our children are oversupplied with info. Yeah, and I think sometimes you can also feel they get overwhelmed by it. Yeah.
Yes.
For that good note, imagine when you were small, there was nothing much to think about. Excuse me, we only used to think about the food we'll eat, the water we'll drink. Nowadays, children have to make so many decisions.
Exactly.
So we really celebrate that insight as well. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think we will get it up to there because of time, so that we can get to jump right in to our session for today. And so like I said, my name is Paps Wanyugi, and children call me Miss Paps. And so the children we are coaching, and I'm an author. I've actually done one book on parenting known as Leading Generations, which is about mentoring 21st century preteens and teens. I'm also a psychologist by training since 2007. I'm a family enthusiast, and of course, I'm a confidence and wellness coach. Yeah, those are the areas of my training. And this is my story when I was young. And I remember when I was small, children used to make fun of me in school that I have macho kama ya paka, like cat eyes. Of course, I had bad allergies. And of course, I would have asked you guys to guess, but now I've made it easier by talking about the eye problem. But we all look like we have eye problems. So which one do you think is Paps? You can share on the chat. Which of the three girls do you think is Paps? So maybe you can describe the color of the dress. Which one do you think is Paps? And if you haven't answered this question, you are forbidden from answering it again. That will be canvassing. If you've never seen this photo, which girl do you think is Paps among the three? Any wild guess? Faith,
the one in a yellow dress.
You even had to unmute yourself. The one in a yellow dress. Hey, Carol is thinking the one in a white dress. Sylvia, white dress. Yeah, clearly we all looked like we had eye problems when we were young. The squint of the sun. For the interest of time, I'm actually the one in the yellow dress. And when I was a young girl, I used to really, really be busy. Actually, my mother says every time I drop my daughter off to stay with her, she just feels like she's raising me again. Because my daughter is also very busy, very energetic, short concentration span. She'll just be going on to the next thing and the next thing. That was me when I was young. And of course, the other thing about me, I was very, very, very talkative. My mother will say, so long as I was full, I was trouble-free because I will be engaging anyone. I can be left anywhere. I can stay with anyone. Like I was just that free soul. And honestly, this was the only way to contain me to pose for this photo. So this is my eldest sister. And one of the things that we always think about our childhood is also the stories and how things have changed. Like my sister passed away in 2001. She was 21. Yeah, she was 21 back then. So right now she'll be going to 43. And so just thinking about it, it's the transitions and the things we've gone through. I know all of us, if we look at our childhood photo, there are so many stories. Some of them are stories of traumas we went through, stories of happy moments we had. Some of us actually really cherish our childhood. And some of us would rather forget our childhood. And whatever your story is, that is why we keep on having these conversations and just having these forums so that we can keep on reparenting ourselves in the process. And one of the things about me, this is my family. And by then, first of all, the guy with the cool, by then Walkman. Yeah, the radios that you will carry around and listen to KBC Idhaa ya Taifa. So that is my uncle posing cool there. My dad's only brother. So my dad passed away in 2011. So my uncle is the one who is around. And the other side is my mom. And then by then, even house helps used to be in the photo shoot because they were really, really, really family. And of course, there were lower turnovers of house helps. That is one of the things that has changed. You know, Kitambo, you'll see you have a housey for even 5 years. My mother had a house help who stayed for 7 years, and actually she's the one who influenced her to get born again, you know, like those long relationships. Sisi tuko na turnovers due of 3 per year, you know, that is something different about it. And of course, this is the 3 of us again. Of course, I'm the one, I was daddy's girl. And of course, there were 2 more children who came after us. And then this is my life later as a teenager. This was 1999, yes. And by then I was in Form 3. And this photo is interesting because I just look like a cool girl. These were my cousins. This was the guys I was legally allowed to hang around with. And this guy on the left, on the extreme right is Wanjere. He had come to visit us because he alikuwa amemaliza Form 4. Hapa ilikuwa first term. So by then I was in Form 3. Wanjere was in Form 3. This is Murage, the small one next to me, was in Form 1. And one of the things about this photo, it's how I was struggling in this photo. You know, they were saying that photos can tell stories because I was a very depressed teenager at this point. And later this year, that was in 1999, on December 27th, I actually had suicide ideation. I wanted to take my own life because I was just feeling like nobody likes me, nobody understands me, nobody wants me. That year, I had fallen flat on my face. I had a D- in terms of my grade. And my parents were just like, I think we're hopeless. We need to have you shipped over. You go and get your aunties talking to you. By then, those were the therapists. They'll just look for the toughest relative to give you a peace of mind. And going to live with my auntie, actually, my depression got worse. And I remember that night, I was just like, you know what? It's been real. This thing will never change. And I think I just need to call it a day. And I remember waking up at night, going to a borehole. I was actually planning to throw myself in that night. And then I just freaked out. I remember asking myself, Sani kijiangusha huko ndani watanitoaje? No, I peeped in, I'd fetched water there so many times. And by God's grace, I mean, I went back to my room. I remember it was an earthen floor, ile floor ya kufagia ushago. And I remember just sitting on the floor and really crying some bitter tears. I really broke down. It's like I had so much agony and pain and anger pent up. And I really, really let it out that night. And I remember just feeling that peace. And I loved when I'm sharing this story with teenagers or preteens in schools, I'm just like, that peace that I felt right now, it will be 25 years this year, has never left. You know, just that assurance of God that I'm someone, I am something, God is up to something in my life. And I feel like there was more hope after that night. In a way, I've seen that hope for the rest of my life. So every time I achieve great things, and even last year, just getting several awards for my work, I always remind myself, you know what, Paps? Without God, you are that 15-year-old girl that was suicidal that night of 27th December 1999. That is your reality. And so all these things you've become, it's because of God. You know, and of course, we always encourage children, just have their hope in God. Some things may not change in families, but they can always have hope no matter what happens. And of course, one of the things we also believe is some of our children have actually been born to bring redemption into our families. And we love encouraging them with that story as well. And of course, after that, I remember after clearing high school, I was like, by the way, who is there for children out here? Nani hata anajali watoi kama mimi? And honestly, I remember being in high school. It was a provincial high school, like almost going to the nationals. And I remember being there. First of all, that was not the original school I was called to, in quotes. I had been in another school, and I remember being in Form 1 and getting mob justice for something I'd not done. And honestly, that thing really, really, really became one of the highlights of my teenagehood life. And so my parents had to change me school after they figured out I was in a crisis. Of course, I was really a sickly child. By the time I was in Form 2, my sister is actually the one who got the wind of what happened. Like I couldn't even have the courage of coming back and telling my parents this is what's happening. And I really appreciate the fact that I have a relationship with my daughter. You know, if she has a misunderstanding, if she even has a crush on a boy, she's able to come and tell me, by the way, there's this boy I really like. Those were conversations we never had with our parents, you know? And of course, when you think about it, for me, looking at my life in high school, I never felt like there was anyone who really came and even asked me, what is up with you? We never had these counseling sessions that I normally get invited to do in schools. It was just the preachers. And I mean, I really had a spiritual crisis as well. I remember being in Form 2. I was very rebellious. I think nilikuwa SDA for a few Sundays. And then I joined Catholic for the many next Sundays. Of course, my family was Pentecostal, so we probably had never been properly into a Catholic church. It was just that season, and sometimes I would not even go to CU at all if it was not optional, if it was not compulsory. And so during those times of just struggling with my rebellion, I remember like, I never felt like there's anyone who came and spoke any life to me, apart from the preachers who used to come on Sunday. And I didn't like majority of them when I was in Form 2 because the rebellion in my head, I just used to feel like we are wasting time being in church. And when I left high school, I was like, who is usually there for children to have conversations with them in other schools? And I remember having a burden to reach out to schools. I was employed. I was doing something totally different because my first training was IT, but I will be going to schools to just speak to children. And I just had Google, passion, and, you know, and Jesus. And so I will just look for things about self-esteem, like the things I struggled with, and then I would have conversations with schools. And so this was one of those days, and it's on Wednesday, May 26, 2010. This was at 5:39. We were in Kanjiro Girls. It's in Getaro, hapo karibu na Kikuyu. And of course, we had many schools we used to go to around that time. I was with my friend Anne, and this lady who is next to me is the counseling teacher. And then after that, on November 5th, 2016, we launched Women Arise. And one of the reasons why we launched Women Arise was because most of the times when we'll go to schools, we'll actually engage parents. And so we'll have some sessions for parents, some sessions for the staff, including even the cook, the wachi. We used to say, you know what, we are leaving no one behind in the mentorship journey. We need to train even the people who work with children in the periphery in terms of they don't teach in class, but can you imagine how much a wachi knows about a family? When you are dropping off our kids, alafu wanaona venye nimezushia crystal hapo, they can see my children crying. That is a picture that a teacher may not see in class. But that will achieve, they think themselves as a mentor, or just instead of just feeling like, me tu niko hapa kwa gate, I'm minding my own P's and Q's. If they see themselves as a mentor, the landscape of how they would handle children improves. There's a chef who is serving children in the kitchen, hapo kwa counter, and they can see the countenance of that child has fallen. And you know why? Because when children get to class and the teacher walks in, all of them have to be fine. They have to look normal. They have to look happy. They have to engage or at least play PR until the teacher leaves. But in these other spaces, you know, the reality check is probably a bit more obvious. And so in the training, we'll engage everyone. And I remember whenever we had parents meetings, we'd actually have most of the time moms. Moms are the ones who will check in. And we're just like, okay. So I remember one school that I went to, there were around 61 parents and only 2 were dads. The others were grandmothers, the others were aunties, the others were moms, you know. And I remember coming home and asking God, so what's happening? You know, where are all those dads? And I remember God putting this scripture in my heart. I keep on forgetting whether it's Proverbs 13 or 14 verse 1, but it says a wise woman builds her own house with her own hands, and a foolish woman tears down her own house with her own hands. And so that became a mission or an assignment. We want to make sure women are better so that they can raise functional generation, you know, no matter what's happening to them. Even right now with the whole femicide thing and everything, so much compassion. And I really celebrate the dads who are here because it shows they're also intentional about supporting in the parenting end. And most of the times, these are dads who are also working hard on their marriages, and we really, really celebrate you. And of course, when you look at all the things that women are going through, sometimes I usually believe if this woman can have self-awareness, probably heal from what's hurting her, and just discover purpose in terms of what she's good at and what's her A game, how can she connect what she does to who she is? And finally, this woman is just living out confidently, no matter how many mistakes she makes, then we will increase the chances of raising a bold generation. And that is our dream, our desire, our aspiration as we do this Women Arise. Of course, it has evolved over time. Right now, we have Bold Woman series. I'm going to share my website later so that you can jump on and just see the different programs we are doing for emotional healing, for financial planning, for physical well-being. We have so many outfits for bold wives. We have bold singles. We have bold marriages. for guys who are married. So all these outfits, and it's encouraging in those 3 areas: emotional healing, purpose clarity, and of course, inner confidence, in terms of my confidence comes from within. And the other thing we also do, like I've mentioned, is mentoring teachers. This was State House Girls High School in 2018. So we trained the whole crew, and this year we are actually going big on this campaign of training mentors who work with children. And shall be letting you know about the programs coming up. This is my family, and so these are the Wanyugis. Our family is a blended family in sort of a way. And so we have me, James, and Crystal and Yaniv. Crystal will be turning 10 on 3rd February. Yaniv will be turning 6 on 6th March. Yeah, and of course, we also have these 2 amazing gentlemen that we've been raising for the past 7 years. And this is Jimmy. Jimmy right now is 22. I think here he was around 19. And then Karanja here was around 15. Right now he's 18. And the 2 of them, my sister-in-law passed away. We took them in, and they've been such a joy to raise. Yeah, so right now, Karanja is 18. He'll be 19 this year. Jimmy will be 23 this year. And we really thank God for giving us this blessing. And I remember going for a camp at the end of this year and really having a good time. In a way, we are trying to build family traditions, because like right now, Jimmy has left home. So we have an adult child in terms of a young adult. We have a teenager, we have a preteen, and we have no longer a preschooler. Right now, he's in grade 1. So last year we had a mix of everything, and we really celebrate these guys. And so what has been the Facing Giants journey in terms of journeying with children? Today we are discussing the 21st century crisis in parenting. And we just wanted to look at what are the current challenges and the current issues that children are going through, that even us as parents we are going through. And so this has been the Facing Giants journey in terms of journeying with children. And so it's been 20 years now, coaching children, mentoring children, journeying with children. And I remember my first coachee was Jeff Masharia. If you went to my YouTube channel and you watched the Leading Generation book launch, which was on last year, May, you will actually see Jeff Masharia sharing his story. He was in a children's home in Stars for Jesus. And this is when my passion started for mentoring children. And I remember I was in college, and then we had a children's home that we used to support. And now what we'll do is to raise money. We'll give our 20 bobs and 50 bobs, and then we will buy some few stuff and just take to them. And I remember this particular time we were mentor paired, like you'll be paired with a child that you'll need to be checking on. Unaenda huko unamfulia nguo, probably unampelekea vitu, unamwandikia barua za encouragement. So I was paired with Jeff Masharia. By then he was 12 years old. And right now, Jeff Masharia has 3 children. He is an accountant, done CPAK, done his bachelor's. You know, a child was in a children's home, and I'm ever so proud of him, especially now the better relationship. They're actually closer with my husband than myself. And Jeff Masharia is one of just the heroes of seeing the power of mentorship. Even if you don't have anything, like just journeying with children and loving on them really, really goes a long way. Even the other children in our family, in our neighborhood, for me, I just think like we don't need special skills to have functional children in this generation. It's just about me and you looking at beyond the children in my house, which other children can I just love on and just probably even just take them out once in a while. I remember like when we moved into this flat where we are living, we are 3 homes. It's actually a home that is next to our landlord. And I remember when we came in, after a while, all the children in this plot or this flat or this apartments, they actually called Jemo dad. Dad, sata kwa barabara, people are like, hey, hata huo ni wako. You know, like they wouldn't understand that relationship, especially if you're carrying someone else. And I was just thinking how much value he adds to their lives in terms of playing with them. Of course, they are all small. They are small girls. One of them, the dad lives in Dubai. The other one is a single mom. And the way he probably does whatever he does for our kids, he does with them in terms of just playing with them. And sometimes you'll find him here praying for them, doing a Bible study or a Bible story, sometimes watching something. And all those small things are small seeds of just being, even for dads who are here, to extend your daddyhood to other homes and allow God to cause you to be a blessing, probably to a home that probably doesn't have a dad, or even moms. Sometimes we have many people around us who are even struggling as moms. Probably they are absent, they are hurt, they are wounded, they're not able to engage their children, for you to just come alongside, you know? And in 2006, we were in Kanjero Girls. I've shown you that photo. By then, we were doing Kanjero Girls, Victorian Girls, Santito Girls. And then in 2013, that is when I started doing the research and the program design. By this time, I had resigned. I was full-time in this. Like, this was it. For me, I was like, I'll give it my best shot and then see how it works. And so by then, that is actually how much I have been doing full-time coaching since 2013. And then 2015, we rolled out the program into 5 schools, still called the Facing Giants. And like I've mentioned, it was an integrated approach of having sessions for kids, 3 for kids, 1 for parents, and 1 for mentors. And then in 2016, that is when we launched the Woman Arise coaching. And then in 2018, that is when we launched the Leading Change training in State House Girls, and then we rolled it out to other schools as well. And then in 2020, that is when we started the Facing Giants virtual coaching during COVID to just journey with children. I mean, things were really tough around then. Children were at home, holed up and so tired with everything, and it was very, very effective. And I've never forgotten one session we had during that COVID time, and it was for some kids. I think that was a teens class. So we used to have teens class and pre-teens class separately. And I remember telling them to write goals in terms of what they want to achieve in the next 10 to 15 years. Some of them were 16, 17. And can you imagine, out of the 11 children that were there, only 4 listed down marriage as a goal that they have. I was like, wait, but I was now teasing them. I was like, hey, you guys, what is your plan? You know, and of course you can see probably those are some of the changes that have happened and conversations we need to have with our children more and more. And then in 2020, that is when we launched the virtual coaching. And in 2023, we've launched the Facing Giants masterclasses, where we journey with children, having them in different programs. We have boot camps, we have virtual coaching, we have day retreats, all those. And of course, we'll be letting you know about that. I hope everyone who is here is in the parenting group, because that is where we'll be posting updates and info on what's coming up. And of course, this is research-based coaching that we did. We had 5 schools and 3 churches involved. That is in 2015 and 16. We had around 637 pupils who were aged 10 to 16 doing this survey. And by the way, this survey we did was for primary schools. We didn't do high schools in this time because I'd been coaching teenagers for a long time. And one of the things I thought, why don't we do a preventive strategy of journeying with younger children, children who are 9 and above? And can you imagine one school that we went to? I remember having a question asked, and actually that child was, it was a class 4. I think it was a sister school. They were like, by the way, class 4 ndio vichwa ngumu, wacha kwanza tuanze na hawa. And I remember one of the kids, a child who is in class 4 is around how old? Grade 1 was 7 by then. So this is 8, 9, 10. Yeah, around 9 or 10. And one of them was saying they are so much in love with a certain girl and whether I can talk to them to accept them. And you can imagine the shock even on the parents' face, and of course the teachers or the mentors' face when we were sharing this in terms of children are dating, children are sexually active nowadays, even at age 8. And of course, we're just like, why don't you come early and do early interventions through coaching? And the big question that we would ask them is, what is your giant? And this was the responses. 70% of the feedback was on challenges from home. That is telling all the 637 students that we surveyed in those 2 years. And then 20% were challenges within themselves, like in terms of, I feel overwhelmed, I lie, you know, like I lie a lot, I'm afraid, all those things that you'll feel are inside the child. And then, of course, we put this feedback into 6 categories. Category number 1 was on academic challenges. And so there was bad grades, difficult subjects, failure, fear of exams, focus going to school, good performance, harsh teachers, homework and assignments, ignorance, poor concentration in class, of course, poor performance and low grades, rebellion towards teachers. Yes, some of them were very honest. And unfinished assignments, teachers' discrimination. For example, they favor some students, self-discipline, slowness, and forgetting. So these were the academic challenges. And of course, many of them were repetitions. So we just decided to cluster them together. The other one was emotional challenges. And the children who are saying they struggle with anger, they struggle with discouragement, they struggle with stress, they struggle with fear, hopelessness, bad temper, jealousy, sexual temptations, negative emotions, misbehavior, negative thoughts, shyness, indiscipline, pressure and anxiety, lack of self-control, self-hatred, tired, and laziness. Of course, these are primary school children again. And then category number 3 is identity challenges. So we classified this in terms of the things that they're experiencing in transition. Adolescent changes with no transition support. So some of them will feel like I am going through so many changes and I don't feel like there's anyone there for me. Probably even some of them will be things like periods, you know, like wet dreams, like I'm just feeling like I've started growing here in some places. I don't know what to do about it. And of course, afraid of being myself. Bad behavior, drug abuse, emotional growth, health challenges, making bad decisions and mistakes. Menstruation was mentioned a lot, stealing, secretiveness, time wastage, unsure of my choices, violence towards others, and vulgar language. So these are some of the identity challenges because some of these things are influenced by the company, and it's because they're trying to fit in. I really struggled with this myself when I was also a teenager. That is story of another day, especially that part of joining a bad girls group. And it's because I was really struggling with even myself in terms of who am I? So I wanted to belong to a cool group. And then of course we'll go bullying people. That was me in Form 2. And then category 4 was home challenges in terms of things they experience at home, concentration at home, family conflict, siblings hatred and fights, family problems, disabled parents, house helps, lack of initiatives. Actually, house helps was featuring a lot. Some of them didn't explain a lot, but some of them will actually say the house helps are having sexual relationships with them. And of course, some of these schools, we really had to do the whistleblowing in terms of asking them, can you research which children are going through this? Can we support them? Some of them were not successful because all these notes were anonymous, but some of them were able to actually get help. Lack of initiative, poverty at home, lies, parents opposing my dreams, pressure to perform from home, promiscuous parents, respecting parents and elders, sex and pornography. There was actually a certain school, which is in Eastlands, that had a very high exposure on sex and pornography. And sexual abuse by a boy at home, this one we're also able to track down and find out. And then sick parents, single mom parents sometimes can also be a concern for a child. Stressful friends and relatives, lack of time, too much work at school and home, time to relax and study, too much sleep, waking up late. Of course, all these are just dynamics and challenges that many, many children shared about. And then category number 5 was peer pressure challenges, having abusive friends, attraction to the opposite sex, bad friends, beautiful girls. Yeah, there are some boys who are really troubled by the hot girls in their class. And these are primary school kids. And then conflicts with friends, discouragement from friends, distraction by other pupils, boys disturbing me. These were actually some girls, several of them, who felt like they're really in this space. And drugs in my neighborhood. This was very sad as well. We also tried to track down this. And then getting along with other pupils at school, love feelings, rejection by other pupils, troublesome or mischievous friends. So these are peer pressure. And you can imagine sometimes this can really lead children on a trail that maybe they don't want to go to. Category 6 was technological challenges. I know some of us have mentioned this. Addiction to programs, watching bad movies and cartoons, watching bad things. This actually really, really replayed. And it's important for you to understand, by this sometimes when our children are exposed, they feel concerned because they have a conscience. They can actually feel like this is not okay or this is not safe. And then there's one who said, my tablet and laptop. Yeah, so that is probably a parent who has oversupplied gadgets and this child is feeling overwhelmed. There was also excessive gaming, spending too much time on TV. And what is the big deal? All this information that I've shared is representing the struggle of so many kids who are in our schools, in our churches, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our nation, and even globally. And of course, a broken child potentially becomes a broken adult, and most probably they end up raising another broken child. And this cycle can just keep on going on and on for generations, especially if there's lack of self-awareness, there's no self-regulation in terms of children learning to control themselves or even self-drive from either ends. And of course, we've also done a lot of global trends research in the Leading Generation book. And these are some of the issues that we've addressed there in a deeper way. Online hookup culture. And some of these things, we actually have stories. Probably we've not listed them down. And that is something we'll probably plan to do in an expanded version of the book. And dating and sex is also something that I've actually experienced children, in terms of children I've seen as clients who are struggling with this, and probably they are very young in terms of preteens. Premarital sex and teenage pregnancy, sexual abuse, pornography addictions, online gaming and online and gaming addiction, where children are very addicted to gaming. I remember seeing a child who was actually on a sling, like the hand was in a total pain because he was gaming too much. And of course, that time when I met him, he was actually feeling like he wants to drop out of school so that he can just concentrate on gaming. And he was 13, And so this is a big deal in this generation. And then violence, homes and neighborhoods are also things that are global trends that children are struggling with all over the world. And then suicide thoughts and attempts. I mean, this is on such a high, especially in the past 5 years. And bullying and cyberbullying is also a real deal. Even the cyberbullying, especially for children who have phones. And then substance and drug abuse is also a big deal. Eating disorders is also a big deal, especially for girls. And then watching violent content is a concern because children are not able to process this is reality, this is probably unreal. Sometimes that divide is very, very narrow for children. And then parents' challenges, like in terms of maybe I'm going through a challenge with GMO, really affects our children. And I think that has also been a high feedback we've received from schools and from the churches we've journeyed with. And family disruptions, moving around, probably being in blended family separations, all that also affects children. And then peer pressure, sibling rivalry, like when your children are fighting like cats and dogs, and of course it's on end, maybe I don't know how to mediate that, it also becomes a giant. And then academic and skills competence, deformity, illness, questions on life and God we've also addressed, and online challenges, and of course match-offs. I don't know whether you remember a time in, it actually happened in Githurai 45, where a child was doing the blue, was it called blue whale or blue shark, where they would not breathe for 2 minutes, like you're supposed to hold your breath for 2 minutes. And there's actually a child who died in Githurai doing that challenge. And of course, there are so many online challenges and match-off that children do. Some of them are dangerous. I've coached so many children who've participated in the online challenge of the last man standing. And so this is who will sleep the last one in our WhatsApp group. And some of them will even stay up to the following day because they want to win the challenge. So they don't sleep through the night. And of course, the only way to make sure you've not slept is to chat throughout. You chat and chat and chat until morning. And so those are some of the things that children are also going through. And of course, it's a struggle for them. And then where do we come in as we think about ourselves as parents who are bold? And these are the 5 ways to just encourage you to show up. This year, we'll have so many webinars addressing most of those issues that I've mentioned. And even as we're starting this journey, today being January, these are the 5 ways that I would encourage you to just keep on showing up. Number 1 is bold parenting, which is this platform is all about. And bold parenting means that I am not perfect. I don't have all the knowledge or probably all the facts that I need. I don't even have all the skills, but I'm bold. I keep on showing up. Sometimes we just need courage in terms of it is difficult. I'm afraid as well. I am not sure. We are not sure about this generation. We are not sure about where all this LGBTQ agenda is going to get to. Right now, it's actually on such a hit, such a hit. There's a friend who is working in gender spaces, and she was telling me right now, the kind of funding that has come in, it's just crazy. And of course, that means that the advocacy will go on a top notch this year, and they're targeting children as well. Actually, children are easier targets because you want to make sure you are influencing the trajectory of a generation. And just thinking about 5 years, 10 years from now, you push the agenda slowly because these oldies are resistant, And so bold parenting is being able to just come alongside my child, to show up in those inconvenient times, to show up, to have those difficult conversations with my children takes a lot of boldness. And that is one of the ways we'll keep on showing up as we're thinking about the global trends and the challenges our children are going through. Number 2 is conscious parenting. And conscious parenting means that I am conscious about myself as a parent. And conscious parenting is asking yourself, are you aware of sometimes your inner child in terms of how you are parented, how it affects how you are parenting? Are you conscious of probably even your projections on your children? Are you aware, even as a conscious parent, of the traumas that you've not healed from that maybe sometimes become noises in your parenting? Conscious parenting is also a space to keep on digging in. And then number 3 is intentional parenting. And intentional means that I plan for it, I budget for it, I make time for it. Intentional. To just say, you know what, this thing will not be automatic. I need to show up more intentionally. I need to keep on doing things intentionally. Even spending time with my children. Do you know it's possible to always be at home, but you are never there for your children? I've caught myself so many times in this space where I am home, but I'm on my phone, I'm on my laptop, I am just busy with other things. Sometimes I'm stuck in my own mind. There are days I've even come home and I'm sleeping, and it's during the day because maybe I'm fatigued or I'm just going through something difficult. And intentional parenting is that part of planning to show up, schedule for it, budget for it, like do whatever you need to do. And this intentional parenting means that it's something that even as we start the year, when we shall be ending the year, one of the things we shall be doing is something called vision, family vision, where we learn to set vision for our family, especially for next year. This year we shall have many conversations, but next year we'll actually be having also structured conversations on some things. And that vision, family vision, is something we've done this year. We've actually been doing it every year. And this year we also had time to do it, where you go away for 3 days and you actually plan what you want for your family, what you want for each child, what you want for for probably your generation, what you want for each one of you. And so we shall be doing that for family. You know, regardless of your family structure, whether you are a single parenting or you're married, we will still want to just do that structure for you to be able to create a family vision and to decide what you want instead of wondering what you got or just winging it and hoping for the best. And the other thing is also God-centered parenting. Honestly, if there is anything that I usually feel is spiritual, it's parenting. And when we were starting, we were just singing that song of Send Me. And one of the things I said is, every time I think I'm raising my children, I usually feel like that is the only way I can show that I love God, by making sure that the other generations that will come after me are actually better than me. And God-centered parenting means that I am also asking God for help, because there are so many times I'm not a perfect parent. I remember one of the dads who is in our circles. We usually have probably a group of friends that we parent with. And so we hang out a lot. We celebrate each of our children's and each other's birthdays. Like, we have intentional moments where we meet. And I remember this time where he said, you know, I've come to a place, by then the children were younger. They were probably 5 and 3. And he was saying, right, that is like 5 years ago. And he was saying how he started pointing his children towards God more intentionally. And he keeps on saying, you know what, I know I am not a perfect dad. I keep on doing my best, but sometimes I don't feel like it's good enough. But I just want you guys to know that God is the only perfect dad. And even me, he's my dad as well. So all of us are being parented by God. And then I am also journeying with God to parent you. And I just thought that is very profound, to keep on pointing our children to God as the perfect father. And God-centered parenting is that space where I know I am not doing this alone. And I also don't want to do it alone. And then, of course, number 3 in God-centered parenting is knowing that God is willing to help me, because I will always be inadequate for the rest of my life. And of course, the other thing is all-rounded parenting. You know, to not just parent my child on school fees and probably showing up on provisions end, but to also parent them emotionally, parent them financially, parent them socially, in terms of even the choice of friends and the communities you surround them with. You remember, like Lot, who is raising his children in Sodom. And of course, when you look at them when they left Sodom, they actually had Sodom behavior, because sometimes the environments where we raise our children will influence the outcome, no matter how hard we are working within our family doors, you know? And so that all-rounded parenting is also looking at the social environments and how they influence and pattern our children. You know, parenting even our children in terms of cultures and traditions we want to pass on. Parenting our children spiritually, instead of hoping for the best, that the Sunday school teacher is doing enough, and probably the school, if it's a school that is faith-based, we also come alongside and just decide that, you know what, I want better outcomes for my generations, and I also want to labor for it in terms of probably having family moments of Bible study and doing other things together. And so those are the places I will encourage you to keep on showing up. And why is it important, especially if you have preteens and younger children, why is it important to just have this sense of urgency as you're doing coaching and mentorship for your children? Number 1, it's a preventive strategy, especially the fact that I think 2 years ago, they did an assessment. It was actually before COVID. It was in 2019, where they did a review on a brain. They were actually doing an examination of a brain of a 5-year-old and comparing it with the brain of a patient who is an asylum 100 years ago. So an asylum is a place where you put someone who has a mental breakdown. Kitambo, there was no proper mental health care. So if you depicted any signs that were extreme of mental health, you will be committed into an institution. And so asylum will be a place where you'll be kept, you are medicated, and they wait for you to improve. And they were saying when they did that survey and compared it with the brain matter of someone who was an asylum patient 100 years ago, the brain of a 5-year-old in our generation has the same composition with an asylum patient 100 years ago. Can you imagine that? And of course, that asylum patient was an adult. And so it means because of the information overload and emotional overwhelms that our children are going through, and some of us have mentioned some of the causes, some of the reasons, then it means that by being more intentional about mentoring children, coaching children, discipling children, journeying with our children more closely, it's actually a preventive strategy, especially when we do it early. Can you imagine if this child who is 5-year-old is going through that mental health crisis at 5, what will happen to them in 10 years if nobody bothers? And I love this term that we learned when we were doing our parenting class around 7 years ago about extrapolate. Like, just try to blow things up to the power of something. For example, if my child is throwing tantrums right now and I'm not able to manage them, what will happen 20 years from now if they're still throwing tantrums at 25? What kind of a pain will it cause me then? when probably they are not able to hold up a relationship, they can't hold up a job. They probably struggle a lot with rejection because people can't handle their emotional overwhelms and probably their outbursts. Everything is extrapolated. And so the preventive strategy is why we need to start journeying with our children early. And of course, number 2 is limiting beliefs and great potential. If we are thinking about smaller children, especially even like for Carol, who was a 6-year-old, they have lesser limiting beliefs. Can you imagine even yourself when you're 5, you're thinking like, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. Even a child in Ushago will just look at a plane up in the sky. They don't have shoes. Maybe they don't even go to school, like a feature we watched 2 weeks ago of a school in Turkana that is being taught by a class 2 dropouts. Like your area, kuna shule, they were saying that the next school that is closest to there is 10 kilometers away. And so there was a girl there who, of course, she's a mother now. And then she figured out, watoto wetu waendi shule, hakuna education hapa. She decided to start schooling them. And she dropped out in class 2. And she will help them kuchora kwa mchanga. They will say the way the wind will come, will blow away the assignment before she has marked it. And of course, those children don't have limiting beliefs, because limiting beliefs is socialization we go through later in our lives. We start seeing more impossibilities, of course, voices of defeat. Like myself, when I was in primary school, just having Mr. Wataki tell me over and again, I'm stupid because I couldn't get maths. And honestly, I've really struggled with maths. In my later years, even when I was doing my MBA, I went for tuition for every course that had maths. You know, like I just used to really, really struggle with that. Even logic, even things like direction, sometimes I really struggled with that. And of course, it's because of limiting beliefs of our conditioning when you are growing up. And sometimes we can actually project these things on our children. And when you think about preteens, first of all, we usually say the cement of parenting, not of parenting, the cement of childhood is wet until 12. That is when it starts drying up. And we usually call it the window of opportunity. From when children are 4 to 14 years old, there's a lot of opportunity to change minds, to change hearts. And of course, that window of opportunity keeps on shutting down pole, until one day we realize our children don't even admire us. They admire other people out there. If they are given an option, they'll not even go for vacation for us in Seychelles. They'll rather stay with their friends and just do video games. You know, that reality sometimes hits so hard when you realize you are not the more preferred one. And of course, that more reception is in the 4-14 window, where our children are more receptive. They are sponging on us. They are sponging on affection. They are sponging on information and advice we give them. And the other thing about limiting beliefs that I forgot to mention is children have greater potential when they're younger. Even academically, they have greater potential when they are preteens. So if all those noises are dulled when they're younger, then it means that we increase their chances of takeoff and success. And then, of course, preteens have more free time. They are more available. They are more at home. One of the things that I always encourage parents that I coach their children is preteens are always more eager to even share what they learned in class. They will come and brief their parents on everything that is happening. So it's easier for you to have more conversations with them. And that includes everywhere. When they learn something, even in probably when you go to church or even from other people, they will be willing to have conversations. But teenagers, maybe not. They'll actually say, no, it's my secret, or it's personal, it's private. There's a lot of that kind of feedback sometimes from parents. And the other thing is parental supervision and engagement. It's easier for you to supervise them. You are there in their lives. You can notice change of behavior and patterns, especially the fact that they are still at home. They've not gone for boarding school. You see them every day. You can notice the countenance has changed. The mood has changed. Like something is just going on and on. And of course, when you think about preteens, it's because you're redeeming the generation when they're still younger. Can you imagine even Jesus when he was 12? That is when he was curious. He was asking questions, because that is a formation stage where children are more curious to learn. They are more anxious. They're more anxious for more information and everything else. And so it's easier to influence them more here. And so if your children are here, or some of them are here, this is such a great space to keep on investing. And if they are older than here, imagine it's never too late to redeem your children. I remember journeying with a mom last week who was a child who is in first year. Actually, she was in Daystar. And then out of the blues, she's a first year, so she's supposed to go to second year. In January, anakamwambia hataki kurudi shule. I don't want to be in that campus. I'm not even sure I want to do that course. And of course, it was very, very disorienting for her. She was actually saying she wants to do a certificate, afanye diploma. And this is a child who had a B stand in high school. And so you can imagine, but one of the things I told her, do you know what? As long as you are paying school fees for your child, it's still a good space to influence them. They can still listen to you. You can still scratch the surface, you can still influence them, because God's redemptive power also for our children is powerful. And that is why I always encourage parents, even if you cannot do anything, keep on praying for your children. Even when you feel they are troubled, things are not working, sometimes all these things are also spiritual, you know? And so just keep on praying them through that crisis, that situation, that probably rebellion. I remember when I was a teenager, of course I was still a teenager because I cleared Form 4 when I was 16. And I remember when I was 17, I'd gotten into this space where I was such a difficult child. First of all, I was difficult in Form 2. And I remember my mother would even come and pray for my rebellion in my hearing. Huyu kichwa ngumu ako nayo, ninaikemea. It used to be so annoying. But honestly, it helped just for her to air her concern in my presence. In terms of our concerns, especially after we've discussed with them. Even when you're disciplining them, after kutandika, we still like, can I pray for you? Of course, after I'm calmed down, amemaliza kulia, you'll have that reconciliation moment. And of course, you'll also pray for them in terms of that concern and just pray, God, help him to probably keep his things better, help him to get organized, help him not to be rude. You pray for that so that your child can also know that that is a concern that God can help them with as well. And of course, in the coaching schedule, we'll have 10 bold themed sessions, each with 5 topics for the children. So by the time the children are done with this coaching journey, they've done 50 sessions. And then we have holiday coaching sessions, which are virtual, quarterly meetups with life skill lessons. So like in March, we are doing periods party for preteen children. And so we shall be targeting children who are from 9 to 13. And then our quarterly meetup with I've mentioned that. And then boot camps, we shall be having them on April and December, having different themes. And sample session, for example, if you're thinking about Purpose Bold, these are some of the lessons we'll also be taking parents through, because one of the things we want to do is to empower you to have these conversations with your children. We will be having naming and facing giants. These are conversations we have with children, and also Spices goals in terms of helping them think through goals they need to set to become more intentional about growing in all these areas in their lives. And those of us who are here, probably you've done any program in the Bold Woman series. And of course, also the ones who did the initial parenting sessions we had, we've done these spices where it's spiritual, physical, intellectual, commercial, emotional, and social. We actually talk to children about their eating habits as young as they are, because you want to also prevent things like eating disorders by helping them see food in a healthy way. And then we also help them with assessments on these areas. After they've done the assessments and everything, we go through it to explain to them scores and everything. And these are some of the things we shall also be doing to just empower parents to have these conversations with their children and even the children around them. These are nice activities to even do on December or on Easter when you meet with your family and there are more kids. To just take them through these fun activities that will really be life-changing. We also do Shape for Purpose, especially for children. And we also do it in our programs like Purpose Bold Woman. We have that. And we also have the, no, Emotionally Bold, we don't do this. But we have some sessions, yeah, and the Professionally Bold Woman, Purpose Bold Woman, and even for entrepreneurs, women who are entrepreneurs. And it's because everybody needs to figure out some of the wirings that they already have. And for children, this is very impactful, especially when they're starting to think about their giftings, their heart desires, abilities they have, their personality, so that they fully embrace who they are, and also their experiences in life, things they are going through, and how that can be also a place of purpose for them. And so these are some of the things we shall be doing in terms of doing the assessments and also doing the reviews. And projected outcomes, things that we will desire to see. And our prayer for you and your family and your children and all the children that we coach is there's less deviance in teen years. You know, some of the children that we've coached, like, I remember like one mom whose 2 daughters have been part of this program for the past 5 years. They came in when they were preteens. I think one was not even qualified. She was 8. And right now she's in Form 1. And of course, when you look at it, it's less deviance in teenage years, because when self-awareness kicks in early, it stays in there for longer. There's also solid identity and values. These are some of the things we've experienced in our children, where you want your child to own their values. They're not doing these things to impress you or because they want to do PR with you or they fear you. They actually do it and they own up their identities, so that one day they'll be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who are in Babylon in a very wicked system, but they're able to stand up for themselves. And nobody bothers to praise the parents of these children, you know, because they were teenagers. When you look at the assessment of their age and everything, they're around 15 or 16. And we don't praise their parents in terms of these children not bowing down to idols. It's because of the values that were instilled when they were younger, when they were journeying with their parents. And so other people are enjoying benefits of a child who comes with values, even in high school, even in campus. They're able to have a solid identity and values. And it's because they already know who they are, and it's for themselves. They don't do it because of you. The other thing is also life assignment mindset, where children come to life with an assignment mindset. They feel like wherever they are sent. They are here for something big. And the other thing is also for them to influence systems and cultures. In a way, we are not raising children who are influenced by children who are influencers. They can feel like God can use them to overhaul things. They can change trajectories in places, even in a very positive way. They can bring innovation to improve systems because they see themselves that way. And of course, solutions for next generations. In a way, when we are not here, probably in another 50 years, 100 years, we will all be a phased out generation, and there'll be children and our grandchildren who are bringing solutions in the next generations. And so that is also a desire. And of course, opportunity cost. First of all, we've talked about the effects of mental health crisis at 5. We really want to avert that. And one of the things that we're discussing is about the prevalence of addictions and how children end up in addictions. Every time you see probably someone who is struggling with addiction, probably it's drugs, sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's even addiction to pornography and such things. I've actually journeyed with a child who was 9 years old. They were exposed to pornography. It was accidental, but later the mom realized that she's actually been now looking for it. And of course, when you think about it, all these rehabilitations that we'll need to do for our children, the opportunity cost is Teen Challenge, which is one of the best rehabs in Kenya that is faith-based, was 300,000 per year. I think right now it is 450. And so this is the much we invest later in our children, and probably we are not seeing some of the things we can do interventions right now. And of course, the other sad place where it's an opportunity cost, when you've not journeyed with our children, discipled them, mentored, coached children, is parenting their midlife crisis. Where we see children coming back home later. I usually say the heartbreak of a mother who is raising a child who is probably really struggling in their 30s. It is actually more painful than one who is raising a child who is struggling as a teenager or probably even as a 10-year-old. And so sometimes when we don't feel like we parent our children well through these formative stages, then we will still parent them later. This was such a hard truth when you're doing the parenting class, in terms of you parent now or you parent later, because that responsibility doesn't go away. Some of us have probably siblings who are still deviant, who are still prodigal, and we can see how stressful it is on our parents. And of course, by that time, your health is probably not at its best. And sometimes this can also be triggers to our health, because right now we are strong, we are resilient, we are able to fix things, do things, tweak here and there. But later, probably the life and the vibrancy and probably even the resources we have are not really there. So parenting a child in their midlife crisis can really be a challenge. And of course, some of these things were things that we missed out on, or even our parents missed out on when we were younger. And of course, parenting your future generations. Every time I'm parenting my children, I'm thinking about Yaniv, who is 6-year-old. I keep on asking myself, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what kind of a man do I want him to be? And what kind of a dad will he be? What kind of a grandfather will he be? So that I'm parenting that future generation that is in him. And of course, we are really doing a good job in terms of the investment. I'm really celebrating you for also being here tonight. And as we wrap this up, probably I will allow you to ask questions if you have any. We'll take them up. And then we just on the upcoming events, first of all, we have Parenting on Track, which is like this one. This Bold Parenting series will be happening every last Saturday of the month. No, it's actually Sunday. Every last Sunday of the month, we'll fix that. And then we have Facing Giants Bootcamp, which will be happening in April. We have one coming up. We'll be telling you about it so that you can sign up your children. And of course, we'll also be having Facing Giants virtual coaching that will be happening on April. And so even as we're thinking about tonight and thinking about all these crises that probably we've heard about tonight, of course, one of the things we can do is take it to the Lord in prayer. And that is why we want to start tonight. As we launch off this, we'll have, like I've said, we'll have so many conversations around these areas and all these places that we've discussed. And when you're thinking about even things like homosexuality, and like I've said, you can get the Leading Generations book where we have addressed all those challenges, and we've actually categorized them, where there is number one, first of all, what is the challenge? And then what are the myths or sometimes wrong beliefs we have about it? Even things like sexuality of children, even things like probably their performance at school, their mental health, things like even their gaming and probably their screen time, all those things. First of all, what are our wrong beliefs about it. Even that part of technology and saying, sometimes we have a myth that you should keep your children off screen, but their future is technology. And that is where probably they spend more time and their future will depend on technology more, because automation is going on a crazy level. If you've been following virtual reality and just looking at how much the technology space is evolving every day, you know, even looking at something like ChatGPT and all the artificial intelligence that is going on, it's crazy. And the robotics and the automations, everything. And so our children definitely need to be in a place of understanding technology and influencing it for good. And of course, those are conversations we're having. So I've said we have needs, we have causes. What causes some of the crises our children go through? Even things like sibling rivalry. What are some of the ways we can navigate such spaces? And so there's needs, there's causes, there's effects. How can it affect your child long term? And of course, there's also bold moves in terms of what can you do so that you journey with your children in those areas. So I'm going to share a link on the group, and then you can grab your book so that as you're having this conversation, some of you, I will be happy if you can lead some of the conversations so that we also allow you to participate, especially those of us who will have the book and then you're able to dissect and feel like, yeah, but this one is relevant to me, or it's something I'm passionate about and excited about. Because one of the things about this platform, we are not sharing this place from an expert perspective. We are also coming alongside each other to learn from one another. And so those are some of the opportunities we shall be engaging on. Yeah, and I think that's it for tonight. Unless we have any question, we'll just take time to start off the year in prayer so that we just pray through all these conversations that we are having. Do you have any question? Anything? Or even any comment or any input you want to share? If there is none, no pressure. All right. So I think, Carol, anything?
Yeah, maybe just to on how we can get input from all of us in the group. If people are comfortable, they can share, because there was that question on the registration. As we attend, what are some of those areas that, are a challenge to you? So if we get those issues that are really also in people's lives currently, it would help to also shape the conversations going forward. We know even what you're sharing is really relevant, but at times when you actually have a tangible story, and maybe someone can even share, this is what I'm going through, or this is what is happening in our lives right now, or this is what we've experienced in the past. I mean, we've talked about children at different ages, but it's good for us to also have the conversation of what we are experiencing as parents. Is it midlife crisis? Is it marriage issues? Is it our own trauma healing? Is it financial child? All those, it's good to capture the coin from both sides, not just the children conversation, but also the parents themselves. So yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, that is profound, Carol. And so, Carol, are you happy to help us probably with a survey to see what some of the needs we might have in the community?
Yes, we can do that. Okay. It was actually in the registration, but we can always do another one and just share.
All right. Yeah, I think we'll also tally probably the inputs that were shared by parents in terms of conversations they would want us to have. We will go back and review that so that we can also prioritize, because also our priority will be based on real needs, just the way we do surveys for children and for mentors as well. We'll do that for parents. Yeah, so when we probably run that survey, please feel free to share on what issues you want us to discuss. Probably we can just put in a Google form that will be anonymous, and then guys can just share their input. I think that might be helpful. Yeah, thanks, Carol, for that. Anyone else with any concern or any input? All right, if there is none, we will pray. And before we pray, I want us to just listen to this song again. Let's just sing along. And I want us to just tell God tonight to send us. Yeah, I know we are probably parents, but there are also many other things we are doing. We are in business. We are in so many places. And one of the things that I always celebrate is that God has called us to do it all. When you think about things like even life-work balance, my perspective is always we are called for all. We are called for life in abundance, and that means that everything I do counts. And even as we're starting this new week tomorrow, to just tell God, send me. And even as we are going to next month and to this year, as we settle in, to just tell God, I want to have an assignment mindset. When I'm raising my children, when I'm influencing them, when I'm doing my work, I also want to show up at my workplace feeling like I'm here and God has sent me. Because sometimes it's very easy to feel guilty and to feel like we have abandoned our children and we are at work. But when we see all these things as God's assignments, even to journey with our friends, to just see ourselves as parents who are on a mission, moms and dads who are on a mission, and to just keep on telling God, send me into all these places. And so I'm going to play this song. You can just probably sing along, listen as you pray for yourself, and then I'll come back and I'll probably wrap it up with a word of prayer.
If it's bandaging the broken or washing filthy feet, here I am, Lord, send me. It's loving one another, even when we don't agree. Here I am, Lord, send me. If I'm poor, if I'm wealthy, I'll serve you just the same. Here I